Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little black subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that black subscribe button. Really does help our audience grow, really does help our channel grow, really does help and mean more than you could possibly know. So go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Also, thank you to our presenting sponsor, Betfred Sportsbook and the Betfred Sportsbook app. Bet 50 on any game, get $250 in free bets. Thank you again to Betfred. Thank you again to you. Now, here is the video that you came here for with, frankly, another very serious topic, right? And on this show, I think it goes without saying, I love sports. I like to have fun talking on this show about stuff that I think you guys and girls are interested in. But in general, I like to have fun, right? That's what sports is supposed to be. We don't take ourselves too seriously on this show. We do where Aaron was right, where Aaron was wrong to rap every week so I can make fun of myself a little bit. But there are times when things get very serious in sports, and there are times when we have to discuss them. Just a minute ago, we obviously discussed the awful news about Mike Leach. And now we got to get to another very serious topic, and that is the status of Texas basketball coach Chris Beard. By now, I think everybody knows, but early Monday into Tuesday, he was arrested, charged, felony domestic assault, strangulation. He's been suspended by the school. And there's a lot to get into. There's a lot to break down. And I know some of this news will be more than like 24 hours old to some of you. But in a lot of ways, listen, I was traveling. In some ways, I'm glad that I was kind of away from a computer, so I didn't have a chance to jump right in and be the first one to have an opinion. Legal process played itself out. Texas has made its remarks. And so I kind of want to break it down from all angles, want to discuss all of it and get into it. It is a very serious topic. There's obviously lives, kind of hanging in the balance, if you will, in terms of futures, whatever. But let's get into the present, the facts, what we know. And then, of course, more importantly from there, or maybe not more importantly, but as it pertains to this show, what I think happens next for Chris Beard in Texas, because to be blunt, I don't think it's good. So let me give you a few details. And what I want to do now is the next 2 or 3 minutes. It's just the who, what, when, where, why of what is accused to have happened per the affidavits from the police. Okay. This is not my opinion. This is not speculation. It's not what I read on a message board. It's not this. It's not that. These are from the affidavits, from the sworn statements by the people involved. Here is what you need to know about the incident involving Chris Beard, the head coach, University of Texas. It's Sunday night into Monday. He's in his house with his fiance. Apparently, according to the fiance, they've been having some personal difficulties in their relationship, and Chris Beard is staying in the guest room. She goes into the guest room, the argument continues, and this whole thing starts with her breaking his reading glasses. Apparently, he's twirling his reading glasses, and she breaks them, okay? And so, just so it's clear, even according to her own version of the events, she instigates things. It doesn't matter, doesn't make what Chris Beard is alleged to have done next okay, but I just kind of want that as context out there. Again, not excusing what Chris Beard is accused of. From there, glasses get broken. She goes back to the other room. And apparently a few minutes later, he comes in and he's mad. He's mad about his glasses. She is now wearing glasses. He slaps glasses off of her face. And what I want to do now is kind of read the rest from the police affidavit. So there's no confusion, no speculation, no Torres said this, but did this really happen here? This is what happened after he slapped the glasses off of her face. She tried finding her glasses and said she was thrown from the bed onto the floor, which injured her leg. She then said she was, quote, attempting to gather her bearings because she was unable to see without her glasses when Beard choked her with his arm for probably like 5 seconds. His fiance then said Beard threw her onto the bed and, quote, moved his face within inches of her face before letting her go, per the affidavit. When the officer asked her what she thought made Beard stop, she said, I don't know. He just let go. And so according to her version of the events, glasses in one room, glasses in the other room, he then throws her onto the bed, chokes her, gets in her face for, quote, probably about 5 seconds. It is worth noting, Beard in a statement did say that he has audio that says that she instigated the situation. He did not release it to authorities for whatever reason that would be. I don't think it ultimately matters if what he is accused of is proven to be true, but it is worth noting Monday morning while he was in jail, his lawyer did release a statement that said he should have never been arrested, The complainant, which is obviously the accuser, wants him released immediately and all charges dismissed. It is truly inconceivable. Now, that does sound like lawyer speak, and this is now my opinion, but as of right now, this is not opinion. She has not dropped those charges. Texas, on Monday night before their game against Rice, suspended Chris Beard without pay. And so that's where we stand about 7 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday night. That is the who, what, when, where, why. It is not pretty. And now what I want to do is take a few minutes and just talk about, reaction to that. We know what happened. Let's get into kind of just some thoughts on it, right? And I think my first thought was the same thought as everybody else's first thought. That is just unacceptable. It's unacceptable behavior that cannot happen, okay? And so to be clear, guys and girls, anyone who listens to this show, you guys and girls know me. I'm not moral high ground guy. I'm not pretend to be perfect guy. I have had plenty of moments in my life where I do regrettable things, where I say regrettable things, where I do something I wish I could take back, okay? But I do know, and I think we've all been in situations with our significant other, with somebody that we love, where we are in an argument. It happens. It's part of life. But it can never escalate to the point that Chris Beard is accused of letting it escalate to. It cannot get to the point where he is accused of throwing her on the bed. It cannot get to the point where he is accused of choking her. It cannot get to that point ever, under any circumstances, ever. I don't care. I don't care who started it. I don't care if she broke your glasses. It cannot happen ever. Leave the room. Leave the house. Walk away. Drive away. Call an Uber. Ride a bike. I don't care. Go for a walk. Just do something to get out of that situation. You cannot let that happen ever under any circumstances, to be abundantly clear. But you also cannot let that happen if you are a highly paid basketball coach that is one of the biggest public figures in your state and representing the state school of your university. I'm not saying it's okay for anybody to do it, but you certainly can't do it if you are a $6, $7, $8 million a year head coach, whatever he is. And so as I look forward, I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Let's get into what happens next, because I'll just be blunt. I'll be 100% blunt. Just going to tell it like it is, and I'll say this. I would say with 99% certainty that Chris Beard never coaches a game at Texas again. And I would say with probably like 80 to 85% certainty, I don't think that Chris Beard ever coaches basketball again, at the college level at least. Because at the end of the day, he is leader of men. He is the face of he's one of the faces of the school. And I don't know how you can let this guy continue in his role. And so I want to go on. I want to continue. But before I do, I already know what a couple people, some of you are probably driving around sitting there saying a few things. One, what if she made up the facts? Two, what if she drops the charges? To what I would say is this. I think even if some things are fabricated, I'm not saying that she did. I'm not saying that she did. But even if some things were fabricated or confused or this, or you see, it was the heat of the moment. Here's what I come back to when I think about this case. There are two things that stand out. One, both parties, Beard and his fiance, agree that there was some sort of incident. Beard said himself, I recorded it. She started it. I have audio proof. So we know there was an incident. Here's the other part, which I forgot to mention, and it is an important part. The police say she had marks on her. She had a bite mark on her arm and an abrasion on her head. And so at the very least, even if some of the facts were confused and it was the heat of the moment and memories got confused, even if she drops charges, we know that she had marks on her from this incident. And so because of it, that to me is, if you will, and I don't mean to make light of this term, but that is the smoking gun. And that is why I don't believe he can be the head coach of the University of Texas anymore, because of that fact. So why can't he be coach even if she drops charges? Because we have enough information to know that something happened, that he put his hands on her. And in this environment, you simply cannot do it. You cannot do it, one, as the face of a public university, okay? Maybe, and I don't think you could, but maybe you could get away if you're an NBA head coach, an NFL head coach, a Major League Baseball manager. But when you're talking about being the face of a school, of a state university, I simply don't think you can. I'll take it a step further. I think even if you're a player, there's maybe a little bit of a different situation here, right? Like but when I'm talking about this, like maybe it's a little bit different if you're a player, but even think about something like Ray Rice. Think about what the reaction was to Ray Rice. Now we know he did it. We saw the video, But at the same time, remember, there were people protesting outside the stadium for Ray Rice. He was a player. He was a aging running back. Chris Beard is the face of a state university, one of the probably two besides Steve Sarkisian highest paid state employees, in that school system. And so you're telling me a $6 million a year guy accused of this with proof that there were marks on her? He can't continue. He can't continue as the face of your university, even if some of the stuff is confused, because here's the bottom line. Remember, this is something that's not going to go away. This is something that no matter, even if some facts were kind of misconstrued, whatever, every single time you go into an arena, every single time you go into a road venue, it's going to get brought up. It's going to get relitigated. Fans are going to hear whatever chant is said in opposing arenas. It's going to go on and on and on. It's never going to stop. I'll take it a step further. And I talked to a couple coaches about this on Monday and a Tuesday. Even if you want to keep them, two things stand out. Three things stand out. One, the public scrutiny that you're going to get, the fan reaction from other schools, but a couple things. And this is, why I love talking to coaches and people in the industry. One, coaches say, how do you coach your team? And it's not to say the kids at Texas are good kids, bad kids, this, that, the other thing. But if you're Chris Beard and you're accused of doing what people said you're doing, or even if some of the facts are misconstrued, you're going to get in a kid's face and say, you messed up. You did this. Fix that. Get it right. Player's mad enough. You know what he's going to say back to you? We all know exactly what he's going to say back. Because no matter what the player did on the court, it's never going to be worse than what Chris Beard was accused of on Sunday night into Monday. Two, and I think this is an important part as well. Besides being a representative of the school at public events, on TV, in the media, how are you going to recruit? Somebody brought this up to me. I thought it was such a good point. How is Chris Beard now going to go into the homes of high school players or transfers or junior college players? How is he going to look mom and dad in the eye, especially mom, and say, Mom, I'm going to take care of your son. I'm going to make sure nothing happens to him. I'm going to teach him. I'm going to be tough on him. And I'm going to turn him from a boy to a man. And you know what most moms are going to say, if not all moms, and a lot of dads too? He better not turn out like you. I read those reports. I saw what was on TV. I know what your fiance accused you of. And so to me, that's why I can't continue. Recruiting is going to be different. Practice is going to be different. Games are going to be different. Road environments are going to be different. And so if you had to ask me what I think is going to happen from here, I'll tell you. I'll compare it to a current situation that's going on right now. And I'm not comparing one situation necessarily to the other, just what the outcome will be. I think it's going to play a lot like the Ime Udoka situation in Boston, okay? And to be clear, not accusing marital affairs with alleged domestic violence, okay? That's not what I'm doing at all. What I am saying is I think what's going to happen is Texas is going to keep Chris Beard on indefinite leave without pay, as we now know. They will let the legal process play out, because I think one thing that I've learned covering sports over and over and over again, one thing that I've learned is that everybody just wants the rush. You got to fire him. Get rid of him. He's disgusting. He's this, he's that. Well, you can't do that because you have to let the legal process play out. You have to let the legal process play out, and you have to allow a situation where he cannot accuse you of prematurely firing him or of an unjust firing. Because then you're going to have to pay him all that money that you owe him on his contract, and Texas doesn't want to do that. Texas has a lot of money, but they don't want to do that. And so what I think is going to happen is behind the scenes, there's going to be lawyers involved, and Texas is going to make sure that they can move on from Chris Beard without having to pay him all that money. And money should not be an issue here, but I'm just saying how I think it's going to happen. It's going to be like Ime Udoka. It's going to be quiet. There's going to be no comment from either side. And then at some point, Texas is just going to release a statement. Chris Beard has been relieved of his duties as head coach, whatever. And then from there, we move on. But I do think it's going to happen. If you read the language in his contract, it's very similar to most other contracts from the perspective that, it's vaguely, vague terms about, conduct unbefitting of a head coach. Like there's enough here where they will probably be able to fire him with cause. But if they do it now, if they do it this second, then it's going to be an ugly public legal thing. And so I think it's going to be quiet for the next 2 or 3 months. And I think he'll be out the door sometime in February, and Texas will try to find a new head coach this spring. Really quickly, 2 other thoughts before we get out of here. One, from the basketball perspective, and I know compared to real life, it's nothing. I am very interested to see what happens with Texas basketball. because this was a team that was good enough to win a national championship. This is what Beard was working for. This is what why Texas hired him, was to have a team like this that is good enough to win it all. And they are. And now I don't know what happens. We saw on Monday night, they played Rice. It was not pretty. They easily could have and probably should have lost that game. And I just don't know what happens from here, right? I'm curious. I don't think he ever coaches them again. Certainly not this season. But I'm curious just how the team responds, because the thing is, it's not just you and I that have smartphones and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and however people consume information, email, Google, whatever. Those players have it too. And the same way that we were all on our phones trying to get every piece of information on Monday into Tuesday, so were those players. And I guarantee you, some of them are already thinking about their future. I'm going pro. I wonder if a kid like Dylan Mitchell, projected as a lottery pick, at some point just opts out of the season. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying it could happen. I think a lot of guys transfer. I think a lot of guys leave. I think a lot of guys just get out of there because this is not what they signed up for. And I'll be clear, I don't blame any of them, because this isn't what anybody signed up for when they came to Texas. My final thought, and this is serious, and I again, let the facts play out, but if he is accused of what he is accused of doing, then there's no excuse and there's no reason that he should continue as the head coach at Texas. I will say this is an important life lesson, right? About how one moment in time can change everything that you've worked for. And so guys, girls, you're listening just like I'm speaking. And I'm not perfect. Don't claim to be. Have made a million mistakes in my life. But think about how one incident, one moment in your life can change forever. Chris Beard is 49 years old. He's been working 50 years to get to this point, to be the head coach at his alma mater, make millions, dream job. Obviously, a fiance means he's planning on getting married. And within 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it was all gone. Like I said, marriage gone, dream job very likely gone. Can't go back to his house right now this second. And so it's awful. It's awful for the alleged victim. But in some ways, it's sad. And I always think about this stuff whenever there's an incident involving somebody where 1 minute changes everything, where one decision changes everything. I shouldn't feel bad for Henry Ruggs, the former football player with the Raiders, but I do. I shouldn't feel bad for this person, that person, but I do. And with Chris Beard, it's just wild to think how one thing can change everything forever. But that said, I do think it's time for me to get out of here on today's Aaron Torres pod. Serious show. I don't like to be this serious in general, and I hope the next time I come on, we can have a little bit more fun than we did today. If you're not subscribed, please make sure to do so. Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Music, wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure that you are subscribed to the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. Make sure to rate and review the show. Go ahead, give us a quick 5 stars. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, all that good stuff. Make sure you're following on social media, at Aaron_Torres on Twitter, at Aaron Torres Pod on Instagram, Aaron Torres Podcast Questions at gmail.com, Aaron Torres Podcast Questions at gmail.com. There will be days to talk about the games. Maybe at some point I react to the Creighton, Arizona game I was at. Memphis and Alabama was on Tuesday night, but I think we wait for that. Time for me to get out of here. Appreciate everybody's support. I am going to bounce. Shout out to Torrent Craig. Shout out to Rachel, who hates my voice. Shout out to JJ Redick, you F-head. Unblock me, bro. I'll be back later this week. New Aaron Torres Podcast.